dribble.
The champ is here. I must be the greatest. The champ is here.
I'm going to continue to stand with the people.
The champ is here.
I will not lose.
I'm a bad man. I took up the world.
Yes, welcome. You could have been anywhere in the world, but you were here with we. My name is EJ, and I got my man.
MH.
He is the DB of the show, and we are Black in Sports, giving a voice to the culture that won't shut up and dribble. Here, interviewing the best professionals in the game and in the boardroom. And, we talk about it all, laugh at it all, while providing a platform to be heard. All right, so you know what we do about this time. We got to welcome our guest in the house. So excited to have Sports Business Journal Class of 2021 Game Changers honoree here. A relationship maven, definitely keeps relationships going, and a global marketing guru. She's the current vice president of licensing partnership service, and at the Nflpa. So please clap it up for Madam VP Gina Scott.
Madam VP, I don't think I've ever been called that before. I like the sound of that.
There it is. So, hey, thank you, Gina. We really appreciate it. So how we get this show going is we like to ask, what is the shoot your shot moment, right? So, from the sports aspect, we get on here and we bet on ourselves, win or lose, right? But we have to take those shoot your shot opportunities. So give us maybe a short story or an example of a specific time that you shot your shot.
Oh my goodness. I'm going to have to say the first time when I reached out, and that's actually how I made my transition from my then job, which was in college sports, to working in professional sports. So I always knew I wanted to work in pro sports, but when I started my career, I was working on the collegiate sports side. And so one day I opened this magazine, I see this job posting in the back for an NBA franchise. And I remember grabbing the card of this guy that worked for the franchise at the time. It was the Atlanta Hawks. So I dug up the card, I shot an email, and I was like, hey, do you have 30 minutes to get on the phone with me or email? One day I want to work in college sports and I just love to pick your brain. Well, he kindly emailed back and said, it was so brief, less than 10 words. Call me at this time. Long story short, a call that I thought was going to be an informational phone call actually turned into an impromptu interview. And then the rest of the story is history. He ended up hiring me. I moved from Louisiana to Atlanta and got my first job in professional sports.
Let's go.
You stay ready, you ain't gotta get ready.
That is so true, mate.
So where did starting with younger Gina, little girl Gina, where did their love for sports start?
My love for sports didn't start until I got to college. Okay. I'm going to take that back. I was a competitive cheerleader, but honestly, back then, people really didn't give cheerleading credit for being a sport. So I would say if we're talking about traditional sports, it really didn't start until I got to college. I actually went to a preparatory school for high school, and we didn't have sports. We had intramural teams, but we didn't actually compete in sports. So I guess it started at the University of Florida. Going to a big D1 Florida school, you're surrounded by sports and you can't help but to love sports. So I guess I got my start later in life.
There you go. So talk about that Florida experience then. Okay.
Well, let's say my Florida experience was different. I will say, it was an amazing experience. And when I look back on it now, I can really appreciate how different it was. So let me paint the picture. So I'm at a school with probably 30,000 students, and it was 2,000 minority students. I'm not even going to say African-American because it wasn't all 2,000 of us. So imagine 2,000 in a sea of 30,000. And so, it was a huge school, but I found my community, I found my people, and it was an amazing experience. While I was there, I've met some of my best friends that I've gone to school with, but Florida was great. It was an hour and a half away from home, so far enough to be away from home and do what I needed to do. It was
Yes.
2 hours from Tallahassee, where my twin sister was in college at the time. And so we had fam in Florida State up the road. So it was close enough where I had a very nice social life, but it was a great school just from an education standpoint. Lots of great activities at Florida. I had such a blast until I decided to stay and get a second degree. Not because I really wanted a second degree, but I was having too much fun and I wasn't ready to be an adult yet. So I said, "Oh, I can buy myself some more time if I actually stay and get another degree." And that is a true story. So
I love it.
yeah,
That's kind of my favorite part of anybody's journey, that if they chose the college route as a part of their journey, is defining their community and kind of finding themselves in that process of becoming a teenager to a young adult into obviously eventually out of school. So how was that process for you in finding that community and finding yourself and finding kind of your passions as well?
I would say I didn't realize what I was doing when I was in college, meaning I didn't know that like those would be like my formative years and those experiences would stay with me like forever. My mom, my family, I had always heard people around me saying, "Oh my gosh, I met some of my friends but I didn't know that. I didn't know like that friends that I met there would stay with me for the rest of my life." And it's so funny because the individuals that I cross paths with now professionally, where we went to college together, it's so surreal because we'll look at each other and it's almost like we're back on the campus of University of Florida. And we are amazed sometimes, like I'm proud of my friends doing their thing, whether they're playing on the field or broadcasters now and vice versa. And that feels great to know that I've got those relationships that go all the way back, just like I said, some relationships that I formed that are with me to this day, whether it's my sorority or just like I said, professional relationships. But yeah, I would tell any student now, and I speak to a lot of young professionals who are in college, like enjoy your time now, have fun, stop and smell the roses. Like don't be so quick to want to go out and be an adult and live your life and work. All that time's going to come, but stay in the moment and enjoy that time, because those are the things that really do help to shape you as an adult that you'll carry with you the rest of your life.
Yeah, that's MH's mantra. He's a definite big proponent of that, of the college experience.
No, you touched on something that I think is huge, and I think it's kind of tougher, I guess, in the society that we live in now, is kind of staying in the moment, right? Because it's easy to kind of get lost track in that. How big is that, not just for, young adults, but even older adults, just kind of staying in the moment and that philosophy?
Yeah.
It's funny because it's something that you don't realize or it doesn't click to you until I think sometimes are forced to like slow down. And I literally think I have said those words, like enjoy the moment, have fun, probably 5 or 6 times to various individuals in the last couple of weeks. I find myself coaching a lot of my mentees or colleagues and just enjoy your moment. Like I believe timing is everything in life. And a lot of times you have to appreciate where you are now. So when you get to that next step, you can really appreciate being at that next step instead of trying to rush. And a lot of times we may not be where we want to be or where we think we should be. But I also believe there is a lesson in every place and in every stage of your life. So professionally, I tell a lot of mentees or people coming to me who may be job seeking, enjoy where you are now, because you won't always be at this place. And I think that is so extremely important, because a lot of times we're so caught up in trying to get to that next level or that next stage or get to where we think we should be. And you just miss like having fun. Like, we stress ourselves out sometimes on so many things, and you just forget why you're doing some of the things that you're doing for the love of the game, for your passion to enjoy what we do. So I think that if that's your mantra, I'm a huge proponent. Enjoy where you are right now in your life, because you will not always be in that moment. So
and can I and speaking of enjoyment, sorority.
Let's go.
You got to talk to me a little bit about the sorority and how'd you get into
Oh my
that sisterhood.
Absolutely.
So I am a proud life member of Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated. And for anyone that knows me, they will know that my sorority means a lot to me. Um, I joined my sorority back in college. So I know I don't look it, but I've been in my sorority for a minute. And it was great. You know, I talked about the small community at University of Florida, and you know, that was an even more intimate community that allowed me to join my formative years. You know, I have 19 amazing, beautiful line sisters that I still keep in touch with to this day. You know, I went on, a lot of people look at Greek organizations and they think it's just a thing with college, but my experience has been, again, I stayed active after college. I have found some of my most amazing mentors, like in my sorority, whether it's in my city chapter or on an international level. And AKA has also given me a lot of experiences and opportunities to develop myself as an individual.
Oh, wow.
You know, professional development that I can take with me in my career, life skills. And Alpha Kappa Alpha has really taught me how to be like a leader. And, you know, those are experiences. It's all about what you get out of it and what you put into it. And AKA has poured a lot into me. And then at the end of the day, it is an amazing outlet for community service. I have
Which
the
is a big
distinct
part of you.
pleasure, which is a huge part of it, right? You can't forget the service aspect. And when I moved up to the DC area where I am now, I didn't know a lot of people. You know, I was missing Atlanta, going back and forth. And I joined the alumni chapter up in my area. And again, that sense of community was right there and helping me find a sense of family, because most of my family was back in Florida and Georgia. So I didn't really have anyone up here. So again, my sorority filled that void for me. I have the amazing pleasure now of serving as our community program chairman, which means I get the pleasure of carrying out our international program objectives of Alpha Kappa Alpha right here on the local level. And so it is great. I mean, I do everything from work with little kids to refugee organizations to senior adults to college youth. And I enjoy every single aspect because, again, it's all about bettering the community that you live in and giving back to your community. And I'm fortunate enough to be able to do that through my sorority.
There you go. Well, and then I mean, so Madam Vice President, you have someone that's associated, or she's was as a soror. There you go. Now, does she get involved? I mean, of course she's busy, but has there been, you know, just some kind of connection? And I mean, she definitely supported it and let everybody know she had those pearls on.
Yes, she did. Yes, she did. Well, you know, I look at our Madam Vice President, you know, Kamala Harris, as just an amazing representation of not only Black women, women of color, but again, an Alpha Kappa Alpha woman. And, you know, what she's been able to do, I think, in her position, you know, she had over 500,000 women behind her. You know, we support our own. So when she was on that ticket, we were going to do our job and help get her elected. But it was not only about her, it was about encouraging everyone to exercise their right to vote. And again, one of the great things about our sisterhood having influential women in position like that, whether it's Kamala Harris or Rosalind Brock, or, any of our Star Jones, any of our famous, sisters out there. We've got a whole host of other members that are congressmen. Like we got an entire community of congresswomen that are women of Alpha Kappa Alpha, Frederica Wilson, Sheila Jackson Lee. It's about taking our bigger message and passing it on to the community. And the message that we had the last couple of months was get out and exercise your right to vote. So if it took Kamala Harris representing, putting that face, people rallying around behind her membership and community, then, we'll take it because, again, it's about our community and using our influence, for a positive referendum and positive issues out there. So we are extremely proud of our sorority. And I will say today we actually got news. I do think it was out in the media that our current international president, Glenda Glover, who is also the president of Tennessee State University, was also named as a co-chair by President Biden on his council for HBCU. So we have wonderful women out there doing great work on an international level.
Okay.
Yes,
I was waiting for the call though. I was waiting for the call.
No, you don't get the call. You don't get the call in this arena. So
So you did mention home, and so Jacksonville is home.
Yes, Duval.
That call.
Duval, that's right.
So does that make you a Jacksonville fan for our listeners that may not know?
Yes, I believe in supporting the home team. So I am an absolute Jacksonville Jaguar fan. I have supported them since I think the team came into existence in 95. I'm testing my Jaguars knowledge. So I do wear my teal. I rock the jersey. I rock the t-shirt. Win or lose, good or bad, I do support my Jacksonville Jaguars.
I'm praying for you, sis, on that.
Loyalty is hard, but you got to stick with your team, right? You can't be a fair weather fan. So,
in your defense, he's doing big things now. But one of my favorite players of all time is like Fred Taylor, obviously Florida alum and a Jacksonville Jaguar. Fred T was the deal.
I think Fred T is definitely one of my favorite, if not, he's my favorite Jaguar. He would look at me sideways if I didn't say that, so I'm going to say Fred T is my favorite Jacksonville Jaguar player.
There you go. And then just really quick, so who are your other teams? Like if for pro sports, excuse me, like so football, baseball, or
it's so funny when I get asked that question because again, I always said I tend to support whenever I move to a city, I try and support that hometown. When I lived in Louisiana, I rallied behind the Saints. When I moved to Atlanta, tried to support it. But it's funny working in football for so long. It's easier for me. I have developed player relationships, and I'm a fan of players versus a fan of teams. So my loyalties tend to rally behind some of my favorite players. And I just enjoy like good games. And I would definitely say I'm a fan of the players. I am not going to mention my other favorite teams on the show because again, I don't want anybody dragging me. But there are a couple other teams I pull out my pom poms for. So
can we at least get like a favorite stadium?
Oh, that's a good one. Favorite stadium. Well, I haven't been to all of the stadiums, so wow, that's a tough one. If I had to choose a favorite stadium, maybe I would go with, I think it's a toss-up between maybe Dallas and Seattle, maybe.
Oh,
that's
boy,
a
you
tough one.
all kind of MH points tonight.
That's telling.
You can stop cheesing when you said that.
Oh my gosh, that's hilarious. Yeah. It's
anyway.
because I will say I don't go to a lot of regular season games like here and there. So my stadium experience is probably going to yield from like watching a Super Bowl, or if I'm there for like kickoff. So I love the whole stadium experience. I hate baseball, but I love the baseball stadium experience. So to me, that's part of the experience, right? Most of the time when I'm going to games, I'm yapping and talking the entire game. So I'm missing all of that. But yeah, it's funny because in football now, you got to keep up with the newness. Like if you think about it, Dallas's stadium is considered old.
Yeah,
And
a
like
classic.
in terms, right? And it's not old, it's practically new. But it's so funny when you watch the just life cycle of building stadiums. You got to keep building newer stadiums just to keep up with like technology. I get amazed with a lot of the business partners I deal with every day, and I'm ingrained and I'm hearing about all these things that they're doing to enhance the stadiums. And I'm like, wow, like you can literally go to a stadium and do everything but watch a game with all this technology and everything they're putting in stadiums these days.
So true.
Yeah.
So want to transition to end the game. And this is where we're just going to talk about your career path. And you alluded to some of it. So before we transition, or I think a nice transition is, let's talk about this award, this honoree that you just received, because the Sports Business Journal event was just recent, right? It was at the last couple of weeks.
Last week.
Yeah. So just tell us about
Oh
that experience and how amazing it was with being in the room with the other honorees. Just share with the audience.
So it was cool. I was recognized as a 2021 Sports Business Journal Game Changer last week in New York. Thank you very much. And I want to say it was about 50 women that were recognized this year. So not all of us made it to New York, but I think most of us. And it was a really, really cool honor. And I don't think I really got it until I was like in the moment. So, I mean, first of all, it's an incredible honor to be named as a part of this group. You're recognized for outstanding achievements that you've made to the industry. So it was just amazing being in the company of the other women, learning more about their accomplishments. I actually knew some of my colleagues, so it was great seeing women that either we had been recognized in some other fashion together. I had worked with them, and it was a mini reunion. I haven't gotten out much since the pandemic and COVID because of I haven't done much business traveling. So I was literally in New York for 36 hours. And it was almost like, everything was so fast, but it was absolutely an honor to go through this ceremony, to be recognized just publicly for something that I feel like I do like every day. And just to be a part of that class. And I will say the Sports Business Journal, they made a really big deal out of all of us, making us all feel very special. But it is a complete honor. I am excited to help reach back in my network and help maybe recommend the next woman who should be on that list as a game changer, and just always looking for an opportunity to help recognize my fellow colleagues as well. We don't do what we do for recognition, but it is very nice when others pause and recognize us for, something that you do every day.
Absolutely.
Yeah, very nice and very much deserved. So congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you.
Nflpa, we hear that a lot. And for those of our listeners that may hear but don't really know what the Nflpa is, can you kind of just describe your path into the Nflpa and what is the Nflpa?
So the NFLPA is an acronym for the National Football League Players Association, which is basically the professional labor union that represents active football players. I actually work on the commercial side of our business, which means even though I work for a labor union, my responsibility is really focused off the field. So I have the sole responsibility of helping players extend their brand and make money off of the field. So that is essentially what we do. The players over 25 years ago actually formed a licensing association to monetize and maximize their rights. And that is the division that I work for. So NFL players form their own licensing agency within inside of their labor union. And all that means is that for those companies that actually want to do business with NFL players or use their name, image, and likeness, they essentially have a one-stop shop to negotiate any type of business opportunities for all of the players. So it's great when EA wants to put all of those guys in the Madden game. They don't have to go to 2,000 players and talk to them individually. They can come to us as representatives of their licensing organization, and we'll broker that on their behalf. My path into the NFLPA, I've been with the NFLPA for 12 years now. And I would say, MHEJ, you know, for me, it was all about networking and kind of being purposeful for where I wanted to take my career. I actually, initially, when I joined the NFLPA, I joined the player marketing division, which basically means I was working one-on-one with the players and their representatives on a lot of the off the field opportunities, taking them offers, helping to set up their appearances, etc. And then I later transitioned to lead our corporate partnerships group, still doing the same thing, but primarily now working with a lot of the brands that are our official partners, including the league, and then taking it back to players. Prior to joining the NFLPA, I was actually with a licensing firm where I oversaw their consulting division. And my main client at the time was actually an NFL sponsor. So I worked for their agency of record, and it was my job to negotiate that brand's sponsorship deal with the league, all of their team deals, and all of their player deals. So that was really my entree to the NFLPA, previously working for a marketing agency that had ties to an NFL sponsorship. My additional background parts of them, I've always worked in sports. So again, I've worked on the collegiate side. I've worked on the professional basketball for a basketball franchise. And I even worked in corporate sports marketing, where I led the sponsorship division for Delta Airlines at the time. So it all kind of blends together. But my background has always been in marketing, advertising within the sports arena.
Awesome. So you touched on all of the things that led up to the NFLPA, right? So LSU was the college, the Hawks were the professional. You mentioned Delta on the sports side of things, which is amazing why we like to have this show, because people don't understand that you can work for a major corporation like a Verizon or something like that, and they have such a huge sports component to it. So going through all of those, and then also the company that you're with right prior before the licensing company, what was one thing you think are the biggest thing you learned that you brought through those experiences to where you are now?
So I would say two things that I learned through those experiences and that stay with me now. Two things. So the first thing was, don't ever underestimate the power of networking. And I think a lot of times we use networking as such a cliched term. You know, but it's a real thing that if you know how to do it and aren't afraid to do it, it can lead to opportunities. And networking has been interwoven in every single opportunity that I have gotten, and each one of those jobs that I just went through. There is a cord, a networking card that literally connects me from my first job to where I am now. And then the second thing I would say is you gotta have a plan. Like, if you don't have a plan, stop what you're doing, make a plan. It can be a short-term plan, a long-term plan, and then when you've excelled in that plan, make another plan. So again, before I even jumped in my career, I thought about it like, okay, what is it that I want to do? You know, you have to have a plan because you need to make sure your steps and your order, it's purposeful, right? Otherwise, you're going to end up spinning around and you don't really know when you're presented with opportunities. Is it helping you navigate through your plan, or why am I should I take this opportunity? Should I not take this opportunity? So I would say always have a plan, pull it out, review it, change it around, but make sure you've got some type of game plan so you know exactly where you're trying to go, and identify when you're faced with opportunities. Like making those right decisions can help you navigate through your plan.
Love it.
I think you kind of answered my next question, as you know, because as a person that understands the power of networking, but actually just the word kind of brings fear, if I'm being real with you, to me. I'm just an
I hate
uncomfortable
that
person
word too.
sometimes.
I'm right
Yeah.
there with you. I hate that word. Like
Yeah.
I'll call it anything else but networking, because I it's intimidating, right?
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. But someone that does it so well, and obviously you excel at it, and you've built a lot of relationships that are authentic. Give us some advice for me, really, but for our listeners as well, as building those authentic relationships.
So, God, that's a great question. And again, I'm gonna go with two pieces of advice that really helped me. The first thing is that it's just going back to the just what we said, the intimidation factor of networking, right? How many times do you just hate walking in a room? Oh my God, I got to network. Break it down into manageable chunks. So if you go to a conference, or if you're going to a function where it is an opportunity to network, don't think about it as, oh my gosh, I got to get 20 cards before I leave. I have to talk to 20 people. No, break it down into bite-sized goals. If I walk away from this function, maybe three people, maybe your goal is three, maybe your goal is two, maybe your goal is five, but you have to approach each opportunity as individual, what works for you. If you go into a room or a 2-hour event and your goal is, you know what, I want to make 3 purposeful connections, the connections that you do make will definitely be more impactful, because you won't be running through your head, oh my God, 30 minutes, I got to meet 10 more people. But you're going to concentrate more on really engaging and hearing and interacting with the 3 people. And you'll get more out of that when you leave said networking event than if you're trying to play the numbers game. So break it down into bite-sized pieces that you can digest would be my first piece of advice. My second piece of advice is that be mindful and be present in building those relationships. And I'll give you an example. I believe that there is something interesting to know and learn about everyone. When I go into a meeting, and I take a lot of business meetings, probably 75% of my job is engaging with clients and taking calls. And usually when I go into a meeting, I'll take a new client meeting. It's not about my agenda and getting through my agenda points and making sure I tell them about the Nflpa. I'll get to that. It's about learning the client, meeting this new person, hearing what they are willing to share with me, learning about them, and really being present in the moment, not being preoccupied with where am I on my agenda. I have found that when I turn it around and I make it about that person and that relationship and that business opportunity, and I don't worry about, am I going to make my sale? Am I going to get to my pitch? Am I going to get through the presentation? I'm much more present, and I leave that interaction in that meeting really hearing what the person said. And I'm learning about EJ. I'm learning about MH. I'm learning about what your goals and objectives and your brands are. And it helps really to start building an authentic relationship. I laugh at my clients all the time because they'll say, oh, I met so-and-so and they just had a Gina moment. Okay, well, I love hearing that, because that means that my clients know that we have an authentic relationship. It's not just about the sale or signing the contract. That's going to happen. But my purpose and my intent is to really connect with them, and then we'll get to the business. So that works for me. Try it. It might work for you. And if nothing else, you will walk away feeling more connected and building like just more actually real like relationships and real connections.
There's going. I mean, I'm every year, and I don't want to put you in a tough spot, but there's coaching vacancies, and I feel like that's a head coach right there. Because the old saying is, it's not like, it's not about the X's and O's. It's about the Jimmy and Jims and Joes, right? But essentially, it's about what works for your personnel, learning what your team does well, whatever the case may be, and then how your scheme or your business fits into that. It's beautiful. There's going to be a lot of vacancies open again. So if you want to apply for a head coaching job,
I'll just consult. It's okay. I'll consult.
So
I will say, if we could go back to that networking point, and it's funny because I'm looking at EJ, and hopefully what I just described about forming relationships, I feel like EJ, that's kind of how like our relationship started, right? It was like a casual like meeting, but it was really staying in touch and kind of like building those authentic moments that years and years later, I feel like when EJ calls, hey, what you got going on? We may not see each other, but we can pick right back up where you left off. And I think that is a testament for being present and giving a little bit of yourself in those relationships too. So
absolutely. And that's, we should have said you're the queen of the relationships, but no, I mean, and that's true. And it's authentic made, and it's just like you said, when we see each other, if it's at an event or if we're somewhere, it's like we never fell off. We never left off. So I thank you for that. Going back into the Nflpa side of things, my question for you is like, where the heck did Marshawn Lynch come from? Like, did he come in and get like a master's class from you guys from like, more than an athlete or athlete? And I think that's the moniker that you guys go by, because I didn't see that coming. Right. But I know that's what you guys do, is really teach these guys how to own their brand and become more. And like, I mean, from Subway to DoorDash, this guy is everywhere.
He is everywhere. And I will say this, because I am not going to, I would be remiss if I sat here and said it was the Nflpa that credit. Marshawn is a beast, no pun intended, all in himself. So he could actually give us, the Nflpa, a master class, which is why we sought him out to form that brand ambassador relationship, because it was like, he's got everything that we're looking for. When we say athlete and, Marshawn is it, and we want him to come in and help train our next class of athletes. So it's funny because you said you never saw it coming, but that is the quintessential brand ambassador relationship that we're about at the PA. It's not about having the biggest name or the biggest stats. It's about reaching out to our player membership and saying, you know what, this guy, this gentleman, this man has something to offer our members, especially our younger ones. So come impart all of that knowledge that you have, on our players and on our new membership. And we are so excited that Marshawn is our first official Nflpa ambassador. And I say official because we've had lots of players to be unofficially in that role. But no, he's got some great things that he's done. If you've ever worked with him, he is extremely astute off the field when it comes to money matters and financial, that business acumen. Obviously, we know he's talented on the field, but he's going to be doing some great things, from helping build out a mentorship program to some of the younger players, to also just being a representative for a lot of various events and Nflpa business opportunities out there as well. So we absolutely look forward to working with Marshawn and having him be a brand ambassador for our player membership as well.
Get your chickens.
There you go, right? Was that not classic?
That's perfect, man. That's a soundbite for days. MH, you want to hit her with the quick hits?
Yeah. Favorite movie? Well, top 5 favorite movies. I'll put it that way.
Top 5. Color Purple. Any Given Sunday.
Harpo the BB.
Coming to America. Ooh, and I'm gonna say James Bond franchises, or probably that's a group. And then, oh my gosh, anything in the Marvel like family series. So,
Okay.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Anywhere in the world that you could travel, where would that be?
Yeah, travel is one of
Okay,
your things.
that's a tough one because I'm actually a travel snob.
Yes, let's go.
Oh my gosh, that's tough because I still have a lot of places to go, but I feel like I've been to a lot of places that I've wanted to go. Oh my God. So that's a tough one because I would probably say I've already hit all 7 continents. So prior to then, I probably would have said Antarctica, but I've been there. So
Oh my God.
I don't know. Maybe let's go maybe next destination. So next destination I think is either going to be the Maldives or like Mauritius or someplace like that. But
When
yeah.
you said Maldives, that hand came up.
Put a little twist on it though.
That's funny.
I love it too. Yes.
I'm about to Google the second one you said.
Yeah.
All right. What you got? What else you got, MH?
Food that you could not live without.
Seafood all day long. I'm a Florida seafood
Florida.
lover.
Yeah.
Yes.
All right, dogs or cats?
Puppy. If my dog wasn't sleeping, I would put her in front of the camera right now. No, you got to see my puppy. She's mad. This is my baby. I don't know if you can see her. This is my little baby. So absolutely dogs. She's like, let me go back to sleep.
Right.
I'm a dog lover. Yes.
So for a woman with many talents, one thing that you wish you could do?
Sing.
There it is.
I wish I could sing. I am a shower singer, but like if God were to give me that talent, y'all would not be able to shut me up. Let me tell you. In my head, oh my gosh, I'm living in my head now. So
all right. Last one I have, and this could be a sports figure or just any historical figure in general. Who would be your favorite and who would you like to meet if you haven't met them?
oh my gosh. Oh my gosh, that's a tough one. Let's see. Sports or no sports? So, that's really tough, but I think, can I go with a like husband and wife? Can I do that too? I'm gonna go with Martin Luther King and Coretta Scott King. I put them together. So
You
yeah.
ain't met no Martin Luther the King.
Martin Luther the King. Yes. That's a tough one. That's hard. Wow. That's a tough one. So
all right, I got is that an MH?
Yep.
I got one. Okay. So now I'm gonna preface this with I know that you enjoyed your Florida experience. We talked about that at the jump of the show, right?
Yes.
And I guess this is more of a transition question as we're about to get into your platform, because I know you support these institutions, right? If you could choose or go back to an HBCU, which one would it be?
Oh my gosh. So, oh my gosh, that's a tough one because I have been exposed to so many like great HBCUs. So I will say this. I'm gonna choose Hampton, and I know people are gonna get on me for the HU thing, but let me tell you why I chose Hampton, because I actually applied to Hampton when I was applying to colleges, and I got accepted, but I did not go. My uncle actually had went to Hampton when it was Hampton Institute, and so unfortunately, I chose not to attend because it was, as I said, I'm from the state of Florida. I didn't do enough research about scholarships. I will put it out there. So I always tell kids, go find the money. And at that time, it would have been incredibly expensive for me to attend as an out-of-state student. And so, the cards aligned where I was able to stay closer to home. But I will say I did apply and was accepted to Hampton University at that time. So I'm going to go with Hampton on that question. So, and then I'll take all the ragging when this show
All right, so that leads us, I guess, right into the platform, or the winner circle is what we like to call it, and just talks about all the amazing things that that you're up to, and anything else that you want to promote with the Nflpa. So let's start with the HBCU, since we just got off that topic, and like I said, I know that's a passion of you, and I see you do HBCU week, where you like select the school. So tell us more about that and how you got involved with that.
Yeah, so it's funny because I do a lot with HBCUs, actually, with my sorority in my personal time, because again, it was a huge initiative with Alpha Kappa Alpha just to bring awareness to HBCUs. And it's funny because in 2022, I think HBCUs are the new thing, but it wasn't always like that. And so I joined, as I said, leading our local programs for my sorority. I chose to help raise funding and awareness for HBCUs. It is absolutely important. All post-secondary institutions are important, and I will support any youth that wants to go to any university, but HBCUs, they need a little bit more of attention. So even though I went to a PWI, a predominantly white institute, I adopted the HBCU that a lot of my family members went to. And so I took on that cause to help raise money for HBCUs and awareness. I'm actually proud to say, transitioning to work, the Nflpa, we've done some programs where we have specifically targeted HBCU students to come in and learn a little bit more about careers in sports and what we're doing with the Nflpa. I've worked with some other organizations, the culture creatives out there, led by Joy Brown, that have also opened up opportunities specifically to give minority students just an entree into sports. And so I do think it's important to, help level the playing field. There are so many, young professional students out there where, they don't have the resources. So, it's about resources. It's about opening the doors that sometimes don't open easily for people of color and students that are not at big universities. So that is a passion. I look forward to just helping young people, especially when they want to enter into a career in sports, because it's about knowing how to get through the door. And a lot of times, unless someone is there to show you and help open it, you are not aware on how to get into an amazing career in sports or what those opportunities are.
Thanks.
Yeah.
So how do we, I mean, as our listener or somebody that just doesn't know how to support and give resources to HBCU, what are ways that they can support and help with resources?
Obviously, when you talk about HBCU support, it's the obvious funding, right? It's contributing financially to those colleges to help either the college institutions or the students. Now, again, funding can come in 20,000 different ways. So I'm going to plug my own personal organization with Alpha Kappa Alpha, because we actually have a general fund that helps all HBCUs through our education arm, our foundation arm of Alpha Kappa Alpha. And so again, we collect money and we raise money globally, and it actually goes directly to those schools. So you don't have to look for a way. You can visit akaeaf.org and give to our general HBCU fund. And it's a great way to financially support HBCUs. And I will say seriously, it's about the money, y'all. Okay. Money goes a long way. So I would say first and foremost, financial support is needed. But if you aren't able to give financially, I would always say, look within yourself and see what resources you can get. I talked earlier about it, sometimes it's awareness, it's education. I cannot tell you how many students have come up to me and said, how'd you get your job? Or I want to be in broadcasting, or I want to do this. How do I go about doing it? And it's not that the opportunities are not out there. They sometimes just don't know how to get the opportunities. So I look at all of us as as minorities in sports, like I challenge all of us to reach out and how can we help educate? How can we create open doors? So, yes, there's the funding piece, as I talked about, which is the priority going to those schools and those students. But I would say a lot of times it's doing things like this. It's exposure, it's speaking, it's making those connections on LinkedIn. I have a ton of connections and I don't always take new connections, but when I see young professionals reaching out to me and it's a blind connection, I usually take those and I will do informational interviews, because a lot of times that is helping those students as well, because it's about showing them how to get to where we are, or just imparting them with information that they may not readily have. But again, if you want to support financially, akaeaf.org, and that will get to all HBCUs out there through a financial contribution.
And we'll definitely put that in the show notes, right? Because that's what we are, a platform to. We'll do the inform part here at Black in Sports. So we'll definitely do that and work on the contribution.
I love that.
So I do have a question, just more about your involvement. You mentioned you would take blind from younger people. So what do you've been a part of WISE, right? So Women in Sports. Talk about that and the things that you do. I mean, even with and why am I drawing a blank? Our mutual friend that does the game changer luncheon.
Latanya's story.
Latanya's story, right?
Yep.
So being in that breath and doing those, please just tell us about how you support, even though you may not be with WISE. I know you sat on the board, but you still push that initiative. So tell us about that.
I am. So again, I believe your question was maybe how I support, I don't know if it was going to be minorities or women, but I'll hit both. So again, I try and stay like active in a lot of professional associations. I don't always have the time. So a lot of times I'm very purposeful about my connection. Years ago, when I had a little bit more time, and I think they're coming back, but I was in the Black sports professionals in DC, and that was a way for me to connect with a lot of younger and up and coming professionals of color, and they all had city chapters. I am very active in WISE, which is Women in Sports and Events. WISE is based out of New York, but they actually have city chapters. So again, it's a great organization that encourages women specifically to gather and network on the local level. And I'm a huge proponent of WISE, and I always try and stay as active as I can on the local level, because working in sports is challenging, period. Being a minority, a double minority, a woman and a minority trying to work in a male dominating field is damn near impossible. So it is so important to mentor young women who want to be in this field, because again, you got to have resources, you have to have networking, you have to have sponsors and mentors helping you along the way. And when I was coming up in sports, and this is something that I shared with my fellow game changers last week, I didn't have female mentors. And I remember talking to one of my girlfriends who was also a game changer, and we worked together at the Hawks. And I was like, gosh, wouldn't it have been great if we would have had this back then? Now, I have been extremely lucky to have some amazing men serve as mentors and sponsors for me. But, it is important for other young women to see people that look like they do. And so I really try and stay involved. I really try and pull others up, whether it's in their executive program or their mid levels manager program. I've got 3 managers on my staff now that just started WISE's leadership program that I'm just head over heels about, because I said, you guys, the organization is paying for this. Get in this leadership program. And so, yeah, I do believe as a woman, especially being at the level that I am, it is so important to help nurture and bring other women along, so that is definitely a passion area of mine.
So just women in the NFL, and the growth of women in the NFL in many different roles. Where do you see the future, and where do you see that growing into?
MH, I'd like to be optimistic and say, oh my gosh, I see it being, opening up. I still think it's slow. Don't get me wrong. It's great to have an official here, a coach here, but it's still a very, very small minority. I don't want to take away from those women that have opened the doors and started to chart the path, but I think we have a long way to go for that to be the norm and still not be the exception. So I think, it goes back to what I said. We have to bring others along until it becomes the norm, until people are not doubling up and saying, oh my gosh, until they're looking like, okay, well, that's the way it should be. I still think we have a very long way to go, but we're getting there. You got to start somewhere. I think we will see more gains on the front office side. But even on the front office side, on the business side, we still have a long way to go. There are some organizations, yes, they have a lot of women that work in the organization, but the women are cast in traditional roles. So we women still have a long way to go to get those traditional CRO roles, those C-suite chief roles, chief executive roles, chief revenue roles. So it's great that we've got opportunities, but we still need to try and level the playing field so it becomes the norm, not the exception.
Love it. So mentioning opportunities, and correct me if this is now out of date, but you guys are currently hiring, looking for some roles and positions because there's so many different levels of the Nflpa. So I guess I'll start it and say, go to the website often, because there's just so many visions that you guys have, that there's always opportunity. But if you could shed light, if there's some open positions or how people could kind of look and stay in touch with what's going on there.
Yeah, I would say you hit it on the head. Bookmark our website, because, we can go through periods where there are no openings, and then we may go through periods where there are, 20 openings. It's very cyclical sometimes. So you do our website is nflpa.com, and then you navigate. I think there's a section that will say job openings. And we post jobs all the time across the entire organization. So it could be, in our IT group, it could be in our marketing group, it could be in our player affairs group. So we do have a few openings right now, and a few that are coming open across all areas of the department. We also have a rotating internship program, and all the information that you need to know is on the website for our internship program, which is also a great opportunity to get plugged in on short-term and longer-term opportunities. But nflpa.com, stay up to date with all of our postings, and we list everything on the website.
Awesome. So is having so much fun, but we need to wrap it up here. Yeah. So how we like to wrap it up is we call it the assist, right? Keeping in with our sports themes. Okay. This is where you could give a life lesson, something maybe you would tell your younger self, something you want to tell our audience, or just a life mantra. But give us a coaching gem to take us out.
My coaching gem, or what I would tell my younger self, is take the chance. Shoot the shot, go for the kick, go for the goal. Just take a chance. Don't be afraid. What's the worst that can happen? I love that you started the show. It was like, how'd you shoot your shot? Like, do more of that. Just take a chance and go for it. So that's my mantra. Just go for it.
There you go. Yeah. MH, quick final thought.
Appreciate you hanging out with us West Coast boys on the East Coast. I know.
I love it.
I know it's getting a little late, so
this has been really a lot of fun. We'll have to do this in person when I get to the West Coast. So
absolutely.
Yeah.
There you go. Well, we want to thank our guests. Thank you so much, Gina. We want to thank you, the audience, for listening. I hope you enjoyed the show. A lot of great nuggets in there. We do have the social going across that, and we'll also put that in the show notes if you'd like to follow up and connect with Gina. But just please know we're dropping new shows every Thursday. Subscribe to our YouTube channel because visual representation matters. And be safe, practice gratitude, and know we're rooting for you.
Screaming, all us blacks got is sports and entertainment until we even.
Assuming I'm rooting for everybody that's black. Yeah. Yeah. Assuming I'm rooting for everybody that's black. Look. Assuming I'm rooting for everybody that's black. Spat about 2 racks on handmade new rags. Assuming I'm rooting for everybody that's black. That's everybody from sports to college class to rap and back.